How are they reacting at the moment?
Well, Caroline, I have to start out by acknowledging what's happening with the wildfires in LA. Our thoughts and prayers are with the huge portion of the LTK community that's impacted. Today, we have 10,000 creators that are operating their businesses out of LA County. And so I'd be remiss not to acknowledge that they really have had a struggle at the start of this year, both with how they will operate out of their homes and with what products that they show to their audience. And then now also thinking about rehoming their communities. So I did want to start there.
Well said, thank you. Emma, do you want to then, having discussed, of course, the heart that goes out to a lot of your user base, a lot of your user base are therefore also having to analyze what's happening in Washington at the same time?
Exactly. Well, on the TikTok side, we've had 9 months to prepare. And so we have been educating our creators about what they can do to get their arms around their audience. We call it meet and keep. And so over that period of time, they've been educating their communities of where they can be found. What we've seen in the numbers is that with our TikTok creators specifically, they've launched their LTK pages. They've actually produced twice the number of video in 2024 versus the year prior. And I would describe that as really making a house a home. They want to make sure that when that community transitions to the LTK, that they have a place that they love and they're getting tons of content there. That has returned in material growth in their earnings. Our TikTok creators earned twice as much last year as the year prior. So they've got a way to really transition that community. And then on the brand side, we've actually seen that brands intend to spend more on creator marketing in 2025. That was a finding from our Northwestern study where we pull the CMOs both inside of LTK, all 8,000 of them, plus those outside of our universe. They all expect to continue to grow their investment. And I know Goldman still says that by 2027, they expect this industry to be worth $500 billion. So these brands are not slowing down their investment in creators. They're really seeing it as a channel play and not a platform play.
As you mentioned, money marketers looking at LTK, but where else do you think will ultimately benefit? If, for example, it is indeed banned, is it immediately Meta that benefits the most? Is CMOs going to be putting most of the advertising dollars that they would have spent on TikTok to Instagram?
Right. I think so on the biggest losers certainly would be TikTok themselves. They're losing $8 billion, it's expected, of revenue. And of course, they are based in Asia. And so that revenue is going to their kind of homeland. On kind of the biggest winners, I do think that Meta will be the biggest winner out of this. I echo your other guests that we saw here today. Really from the creator industry side, though, CMOs are putting their dollars with the creators themselves. Those creators are on average 4 different platforms today. And so it will ultimately drive content into the other existing social platforms. I think Meta will be the biggest winner there, followed by YouTube and then on down the line.
What's interesting is ultimately how creators themselves not only are using TikTok and other platforms to tell people how to circumvent any future ban, maybe trying to advocate the use of VPNs, but have they been migrating their user base to other platforms? They said they've come to you a lot more with LTK, but have they managed to convert their YouTube audience, not their YouTube audience, TikTok audience, over to YouTube, over to Instagram ahead of this?
Yes, and actually, so for LTK, the way they're thinking about us is like the home base for across all of their platforms. Like, where can they gain ownership of that community? Because you have to think what's happening with TikTok is a revolution. This is a moment in time where it might go away entirely. But what we've seen over 2024 is a evolution of every other platform. So whether you're looking at YouTube Shorts or you're looking at what's happened across Instagram, it's no longer a place to follow people or be part of a community. It's an interest-based entertainment platform. So creators across the entire creator economy have been looking for where they're going to house and have ownership of their audience. We've seen that, in Q4 specifically, those last 3 months of the year, we saw a tremendous uptick in TikTokers applying to LTK to get their shops launched so that they can have their home base there. But it's a trend across the entire creator universe where they know they've got to get their arms around that community, because the most important thing about their ability to continue their business is their reachable, engaged audience. And the problem is not just here on TikTok, it's across all platforms today.
What's interesting is there is a smaller probability that ByteDance does decide to sell. If it does, and we have a change of ownership and a change of the underlying algorithm, how sticky do you think the 170 million users of TikTok, or indeed the content creators on there, actually are?
I actually believe it's an algorithm preference. There are some unique things about TikTok when they first started, specifically around music. I think those things have become a little bit more ubiquitous, but I think we learn a lot by looking to Europe. TikTok does exist in Europe, except that they have much more restrictive privacy over there versus what we have here in the United States. And TikTok has not really been able to grab hold of the European customer the way it has the United States customer. If you have a TikTok that's not, I mean, excuse me, if you have an algorithm that's informed by less data, it's just inherently lesser. And so ultimately, this becomes an algorithm choice for our US consumers. I do expect that, the patterns that we've created as individuals of how much time and how frequently we are picking up our phone. I think I just read that the average American user picks up their phone over 2,200 times a day. What are they opening? They're looking for entertainment. I don't think that they're going to stop that behavior. I do believe that there's going to be a lift and shift to other platforms, and creators are hoping that that lift comes directly then over to them as creators so they can continue their businesses. Because remember, the platforms are not the ones that pay creators. Creators are responsible for building their own business and their own revenue streams. But except for YouTube and long format, they are really not being paid at scale or really any meaningful way by the platforms directly. So it's very critical that they own that customer relationship so that they can create those businesses around their reach.